The Pentagon confirmed the controversial reassignment of approximately 200 federalized members of the California National Guard from the Los Angeles area to Portland, Oregon. This directive, issued by the administration, aims to support U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and other federal agencies in protecting federal property and enforcing federal law amidst ongoing protests in Portland. This move is a direct response to a federal judge's temporary restraining order, issued the previous day, which blocked the deployment of the Oregon National Guard for the same mission. The action immediately escalated into a major constitutional standoff, with both California and Oregon governors, Democrats, joining forces in a federal lawsuit to halt the deployment. The states argue the deployment is an illegal overreach that violates state sovereignty and the 10th Amendment, asserting that the president is using military personnel as a political instrument against the wishes of state leadership. Analysis. Reasons and consequences. The reasons for deployment. Analysis of intent. The administration's rationale for deploying the Federalized California Guard is driven by both legal maneuvering and political strategy. Circumvention of judicial order. The most immediate reason is to bypass the court ruling that temporarily blocked the use of the Oregon National Guard. By using California troops who were already federalized for unrelated duties in Los Angeles, a process that places them under federal control, the administration found a legal pathway to deploy military assets without needing the Oregon governor's approval, thus attempting to circumvent the judicial restraint. Reinforcing the law and order narrative. Politically, the deployment serves to fulfill the president's consistent promise to enforce law and order aggressively and demonstrate federal strength against protests, which the administration has characterized as violent riots and domestic terrorism targeting federal property. This move reinforces a political narrative favored by its base, regardless of the on-the-ground assessment by local officials. Protecting federal assets. Officially, the purpose is to protect federal assets, specifically the ICE facility in Portland, which has been a recurrent site of protests. The administration maintains that state and local authorities have failed to provide adequate protection. The consequences of the action. Analysis of impact. The consequences of this deployment are substantial, affecting legal, civil, and federal-state relations. Escalation of legal conflict. The deployment has intensified the legal battle from a state versus federal dispute, Oregon versus federal government, to a multi-state constitutional challenge. The central legal question now hinges on the extent of the president's authority to redeploy federalized National Guard units to a new mission and new location, especially against the express objection of the receiving and home state governors. Inflammation of civil tensions. Local officials, including Portland's mayor and the Oregon governor, have repeatedly warned that the presence of federalized, out-of-state military troops will only inflame community tensions and provoke larger, potentially more confrontational protests, rather than restoring calm. Erosion of constitutional boundaries. Critics argue that this action dangerously blurs the line between civilian policing and military intervention, potentially violating the spirit of the Posse Comitatus Act and undermining the 10th Amendment, which reserves powers not delegated to the federal government to the states. This precedent risks normalizing the use of federal military forces in routine domestic law enforcement matters. Prediction and solutions. Prediction of near-term outcomes. The immediate future of the troops will be decided in the federal courts. It is highly likely that the existing temporary restraining order will be broadened to explicitly cover all federalized National Guard members deployed to Oregon, including the California Guard. The administration will likely appeal any such ruling immediately, aiming to take the case to a higher appellate court or potentially the Supreme Court, given the high-stakes constitutional questions. While litigation proceeds, the troops will either remain confined to a federal facility or be withdrawn pending a definitive court judgment. Ultimately, the governor's unified stand on state sovereignty presents a powerful legal challenge that is difficult for the executive branch to easily overcome. Potential solutions for de-escalation and resolution. Resolving this dispute requires both political compromise and legal clarity. Judicial and legislative clarity. A definitive, high-level judicial ruling, ideally from the Supreme Court, is needed to clarify the precise limits of the President's power to maintain Federalized National Guard status and redeploy these units for domestic missions across state lines against the objection of the home state governor. Concurrently, Congress could update and clarify the terms of the Insurrection Act and other statutes governing the domestic use of military forces to prevent future executive overreach. De-escalation through civilian authority. The administration should cease using military assets in this capacity and instead rely solely on non-military federal law enforcement agencies, such as the Federal Protective Service, FPS, or U.S. Marshals to protect federal property. Federal-state cooperation. The federal government must reestablish transparent communication with state and local officials, providing federal aid or resources only when requested, and respecting the state's primary authority over law enforcement within its borders. Using military deployments as a tool for political confrontation should be explicitly abandoned. Ultimately, the successful resolution of this conflict depends on reaffirming the balance of power and respecting the constitutional roles of state and federal governments in maintaining domestic order.